So that's the one that Carlos was talking about. Yeah, I can see it.
The biggest problem we have right now is that big black boulder on top is actually holding the other one from falling off because there is nothing underneath there. And if something goes wrong, that whole thing's gonna come in, which kills the divers. They're dead. That's it.
A canyon so deadly that old miners swore they heard the earth breathing. A place where avalanches strike without warning, and the mountain itself fights back. Most would never dare set foot there. But Dustin Hurt isn't most people. He just pulled $103 million in gold from a place locals call cursed, and the footage is absolutely insane. Hit that like button and subscribe right now, because what you're about to witness is the most dangerous gold rush strike ever recorded. The air in Alaska's Nugget Creek Valley feels heavier than usual, thick with mist, tension, and the hum of machinery echoing off canyon walls. Rain lashes against the tents as Dustin Hurt's crew huddles around a glowing monitor, plotting a descent that most miners would call insane. Below them lies the Devil's Cut, a canyon so deep and narrow that even sunlight struggles to touch its floor. It's a place where avalanches form without warning, and where old miners once swore they heard the earth breathing. But Dustin's not here for myths. He's here for what locals whisper might be the richest gold deposit in Alaskan history. A hidden jackpot buried beneath centuries of glacial collapse, said to hold over $100 million worth of gold. The idea sounds ridiculous, impossible even. Yet satellite scans show strange mineral densities in this ravine, unlike anything ever recorded in the region. Local geologists plead with him to stop, warning that the canyon floor is fractured by constant seismic tremors and unstable clay layers. You dig there, one warns, the mountain digs back. Dustin just smirks, tightening his harness. That's the point, he says, the richest grounds, always the deadliest. As thunder cracks above, the team begins lowering equipment by helicopter. The noise drowns everything but the storm, and for a moment, no one speaks. Then, radio static. A burst of garbled frequencies crackles through the comms. No clear words, just distortion, but enough to make everyone glance around uneasily. The canyon walls seem to hum in response, as if something buried deep below has started to wake up. By dawn, camp lights flicker through the mist. The sound of the creek grows louder, angrier, as if warning them to leave. But Dustin pushes forward, his crew tightening ropes, securing the winch cage that will lower them 300 feet into the unknown. A drone buzzes overhead, its red light fading into the storm. When the descent begins, the airlift cage creaks under strain. The cables twist against the wind as they drop into near-total darkness. Water drips from every crevice, creating an echo chamber of splashes and metallic clanks. The canyon's narrow throat amplifies every sound until it feels alive, breathing, watching. At 200 feet down, the rainwater suddenly channels into a roaring funnel. Visibility drops to almost zero. Ropes tremble as torrents of silt crash against their helmets. One cable jerks violently, the steel whining under tension. "Hold it," Dustin shouts into his headset. But the signal crackles, half the words swallowed by interference. Dust clouds rise from below, brown and shimmering with faint gold particles. The crew tries to steady themselves, but the entire cage lurches sideways as part of the wall collapses. A boulder the size of a truck crashes past them, missing by inches, before disappearing into the dark below. For a few seconds, there's silence. Then the low groan of shifting rock returns. They finally touch down on a ledge slick with mud and mica dust. The lights reveal walls streaked with metallic veins. "Look at that," Carlos mutters, wiping his visor. It's like mirrors buried in stone. The reflection dances in the beam of their flashlights. Tiny golden sparks embedded in the canyon wall. But something's off. The handheld sensors, designed to detect mineral density, start flashing erratically. Magnetic interference floods the readings. The devices show spikes, dips, then static. Could be iron, Paul suggests, or something else entirely. Dustin doesn't respond. He just stares at the rock face, tracing a faint line in the quartz that seems to shimmer even when his light moves away. For the next 3 days, the team works non-stop, digging, blasting, clearing debris. Floodwater rushes through their pumps as they carve deeper into the gorge. The roar of machinery never stops. It's mechanical chaos against the relentless power of nature. But then, 72 hours in, the chaos gives way to silence. A metallic thud echoes from below, distinct and hollow. They pause. Everyone hears it. Dustin drops his shovel and kneels, brushing away the muddy layer beneath him. There, hidden in the silt, is a smooth surface, pale and dense, unlike the bedrock around it. They chip at it carefully, revealing streaks of gold embedded in grey quartz. Paul takes a quick reading. "This isn't just gold," he says slowly. "This is electrum, natural gold-silver alloy." The purity levels on his handheld analyzer jump past 98%. That's unheard of, even in the Yukon. Dustin's eyes widen. "That means this layer hasn't been touched in 1,000 years, he mutters. "It's sealed." He calls for the drone team. From above, the overhead scanners show an anomaly just beneath their position. Something massive, irregular, and metallic. It's not a normal vein. It's shaped more like a collapsed chamber. Dustin studies the data and realizes what it might mean. A trapped gold vein, crushed under glacial movement and sealed away by natural forces. A perfect vault. "Shut down pumps," he orders. "No more blasting until we know what's down there." The crew exchanges uneasy glances. The air feels charged now, the canyon's atmosphere shifting from excitement to something more primal, like trespassing. The hum of the earth seems to grow louder again, but curiosity wins. It always does. Dustin sets up the hydraulic cannons himself, locking the nozzles onto the densest part of the barrier. Paul warns him again. One wrong move could destabilize the entire wall. Dustin ignores him. "We didn't come this far to play safe." The cannons fire. Streams of pressurized water slam into the canyon wall, slicing through mud and rock. The vibrations shake the ground under their boots. For a moment, it feels like the entire mountain is resisting, refusing to give up what's hidden inside. Then suddenly, crack. A fissure runs across the barrier. The slurry bursts outward, glowing faintly as the water turns golden. Steam rises where the jets hit, and through the haze, something gleams, an inner layer, pulsing with reflected light. The team steps closer, silent, awestruck. Beneath centuries of trapped rock, they've uncovered a hidden pocket that glows like molten metal even under the dim floodlights. Dustin leans in, touching the surface. It's warm. The reflection of his helmet glints off it, distorted like glass. He looks back at the crew, his voice low but steady. "We've found it," he says. "This is the start." The first blast hits with brutal force. Water jets slam into the rock face, splitting it apart like cracking bone. A second later, the canyon erupts, a roaring torrent of gold-laced sediment, bursting outward with blinding brilliance. The sluice mats ignite with shimmer, as if the entire ground turned to molten metal. The crew screams over the sound of engines and rushing water, barely able to hear their own voices. It's chaos, violent, spectacular, unstoppable. In the floodlights, the slurry runs liquid gold. The sluice boxes overflow, mats coated so thick they gleam like polished mirrors. Dustin grabs a handful, the flakes sliding through his fingers like sand made of fire. Above, drones capture the impossible, a river of glittering sediment carving through the rock in fluid channels, twisting and branching like veins of molten light. "It's a live gold stream," Paul shouts, disbelief in his tone. The footage looks surreal, unreal even, too rich to be natural. Dustin's mind races through the numbers. A $10 million pocket, minimum, maybe more. But the data flashing across the monitors tells a bigger story. Beneath the chaos, seismic sensors are lighting up. Something heavier, denser, lurks below. The readings show a massive cavity sealed under their current dig zone, possibly containing condensed gold layers pressed tight under centuries of weight. The noise grows deafening. Pumps struggle against pressure. The entire canyon hums like a living thing. Then, a sharp vibration cuts through, the kind you feel in your chest before you hear it. A deep, resonant crack, the sound of the mountain's spine shifting. Dustin freezes, instincts kicking in. "Shut down the cannons," he yells, but it's too late. The ground lurches, and the canyon wall, hundreds of tons of fractured rock, begins to slide. A thunderous boom follows. The cliff face shears away in a single, violent motion, collapsing into the dig zone below. A wave of mud, gravel and boulders surges through camp. Machinery is torn from its anchors, sluices flipped, hoses ripped apart. The world turns into noise and motion and choking silt. Radios go dead, lights flicker, then vanish completely. The canyon becomes pure darkness, filled with chaos. Half the crew scrambles for higher ground, climbing slick ropes and debris-strewn slopes. Dustin doesn't follow. Through the rain and mud, he dives back into the flood, vanishing beneath the slurry. "He's in there," Carlos shouts, voice breaking through static. Cameras from above catch flickers of movement, a figure pushing through the current, clinging to twisted steel beams as the torrent rips past. Underwater, visibility drops to inches. The cameras mounted on Dustin's helmet show black water shot through with gold dust. Massive boulders tumble by, one brushing his shoulder with enough force to knock the wind from him. He fights the current, dragging himself hand over hand toward a cluster of overturned trays caught in the undertow. He grabs them, anchoring himself against a bent support column. The flood tries to pull him away. He doesn't let go. For 30 terrifying seconds, the feed cuts out completely. Then, silence. A new angle shows him emerging through the murky water, gasping for air. In his grip, a gold pan gleams, a slab of solid metal the size of a dinner plate, dense, heavy, unreal. The camera zooms in as he holds it up toward the floodlights, rain and gold mixing together across his visor. That image, Dustin Hurt, drenched, covered in mud, holding that impossible find, will replay across every network, every forum, every Gold Rush highlight reel for years to come. When the storm finally settles, the camp looks like a battlefield. Sluices are buried, tents shredded, generators shorted out by mud. The canyon floor has been reshaped entirely. New ridges, new pools, new unknowns. But in the middle of the wreckage, Dustin and the remaining crew sift through what's left. The samples they collect glitter, even in low light. The mud itself sparkles. They've hit something far beyond normal placer gold. Back at base, the recovered sediment is tested under microscope. What they find defies logic. Microscopic crystalline gold, unlike anything catalogued in Alaska. The structure looks alien, almost geometric, interlocked in fractal patterns. When metallurgists from Fairbanks arrive, they confirm the impossible. The purity is nearly absolute, higher than natural formation should allow. Some samples appear fused with silica glass, as if exposed to extreme heat millennia ago. One expert mutters that it looks pre-glacial, formed before the last ice age. The canyon may not just be a deposit, it might be a geological vault, untouched since the birth of the terrain itself. Using GPS mapping and mineral density scans, the team overlays the data. The gold trail doesn't end where the collapse hit. It continues deeper into an uncharted bend of the gorge. The models call it a blind canyon, invisible from aerial mapping because of sheer cliff coverage. Dustin stares at the map glowing on his laptop. The readings form a crescent shape, a perfect arc around a deeper point. "That's not random," he mutters. The formation could indicate an entire gold channel buried beneath rockfalls and glacier debris, an ancient flow sealed off when the valley froze thousands of years ago. They call it the Phantom Bend. Locals say no one's ever set foot in that section. It's inaccessible from above and prone to sudden flash floods. For most, that would be enough to walk away. But Dustin isn't most. The collapse hasn't shaken him. It's lit a fire. He believes the Phantom Bend holds the mother deposit, the true heart of the $100 million jackpot. The canyon collapse wasn't a failure. It was a clue, a message written in earth and gold. Night falls over the ruined camp as Dustin sits alone by the humming generator, studying seismic data and drone footage frame by frame. In the background, floodlights flicker. The crew is silent, exhausted, shaken. Some want to leave, regroup, wait until conditions stabilize. Others just want to go home. But Dustin's eyes stay fixed on the screen. "That Ben's calling us," he finally says, barely above a whisper, "and I'm not waiting another season to answer." By morning, the decision is made. He announces the next descent, deeper, riskier, straight into the Phantom Bend. The crew exchanges wary glances. The canyon already claimed their machines, nearly took their lives, but the glint of that gold pan still burns in everyone's minds. If that was just overflow, what lies below could change everything. Preparations begin again. New rigs flown in, reinforced winch lines, upgraded hydraulic gear, all rebuilt under the shadow of collapsed scars still fresh on the canyon wall. The air smells of oil, wet stone, and ambition. Despite everything, no one quits. The new excavation pod lowers slowly into the mist, guided by drone lights flickering above like distant stars. The winch cables creak under tension as Dustin steadies the descent, his gloved hand gripping the control lever tight. Below him, fog swirls like smoke from a giant's breath, swallowing the canyon in gray silence. The pod swings slightly, stabilizes hissing. Inside, camera feeds flicker, thermal scans, sonar sweeps, seismic graphs, each displaying something different, each more unstable than the last. Thermal sensors begin to glow orange on the monitor. "We've got heat," Paul calls out from the control station. The anomaly pulses beneath the riverbed, a rhythmic flare like a heartbeat. The readings suggest geothermal vents, but the intensity is higher than anything natural for this region. The rock is warm enough to distort imaging. Dustin squints at the display. "Could be trapped gas," he mutters, "or something else down there giving off energy." The idea hangs in the air, unspoken, but understood. Gold conducts heat. As the pod descends deeper, communications start breaking again. Static rolls through the headsets, voices chopped into fragments. The rhythmic vibration they'd felt before returns, stronger this time, echoing through the rock walls like a slow drumbeat. Sensors pick up resonance frequencies no one can identify. Steady, patterned, deliberate. For a moment, it sounds almost like breathing. When the pod finally settles at the bottom, visibility is zero. The floodlights penetrate barely 10 feet before vanishing into suspended silt. Dustin steps forward, his boots sinking into thick sediment. Every movement sends ripples of gold dust curling through the water. He turns his headlamp toward the walls. Faint reflections blink back. Metallic glints embedded in quartz, scattered like stars. The camera pans slowly, catching each shimmer until one reflection flares brighter than the rest. It's not just light, it bends it. He moves closer, brushing away the loose sediment with his glove. The surface beneath shines with impossible density. Clusters of gold packed so tightly they distort the beam of his light, bending it in warped halos. The reflection is alive, refracting across the quartz. He freezes, knowing instantly that this isn't a normal pocket. This is a solid formation, compressed beyond what gold should endure naturally. He calls up to the team through the comms, "We're standing on something huge." The line crackles, the words breaking apart, but the excitement cuts through. The hydraulic splitters arrive next, suspended from cranes overhead. The pod's walls tremble as pressure builds. The first cut splits through layers of rock like slicing glass, and the wall groans in response. A plume of sediment explodes outward, then clears, revealing it. An unbroken slab of fused gold and quartz stretching several meters into the canyon face. The crew stares in stunned silence. Paul's voice finally breaks through the headset. "That's 4,000 ounces minimum." The math races through Dustin's mind. This single seam alone could exceed every ounce he's ever pulled in his career. The mining specialist kneels to examine it, brushing away debris. "This isn't a vein," he says quietly. "It's a vault." The mountain sealed it under tectonic pressure. The formation looks sculpted by nature itself, a cathedral of gold veins welded into the stone. The more they uncover, the larger it gets. Hydraulic splitters hiss again, slicing free massive chunks that fall with dull metallic thuds. Each fragment gleams wetly under the lights, the gold so pure it resists corrosion. Dustin radios base, his voice trembling with adrenaline. "We've hit something historic. This isn't just a pocket, it's the mother vein." The data feeds confirm it. Density readings stretch far beyond the mapped zone, deep under the ridge. Extrapolations show potential recovery over $100 million if the formation continues. The canyon vibrates faintly again, as if reacting. A low rumble rolls through the ground, making the hanging lights sway. Paul checks the sensors, but before he can speak, the readings spike and drop to zero. Power flickers. A cold gust of air sweeps through the chamber, even though there's no open airflow. The sensation sends a chill through everyone in the pod. When they return to camp that night, the mood has shifted. Word spreads fast. Locals who live near the mountain start showing up. Old miners, trappers, men who've spent decades in the valley. They stand by the firelight, whispering warnings. They call the place cursed. They say every miner who's struck it rich here vanishes within a season, that the canyon takes back whatever it gives. Most laugh it off, but even the laughter sounds thin. Over the next few days, strange things start happening. Equipment that worked fine the day before refuses to start. Power surges blow fuses without reason. Sensors blink on and off, their readings scrambled. One night, a hydraulic hose bursts for no visible cause, coating half the camp in mud. The next, an excavator's brake system fails, sending it rolling several feet toward the canyon's edge before stopping. Each incident seems random, until it's not. Drone operators begin reporting anomalies in their footage. At first, just flickers, shadows on the cliffs, shapes that vanish when the camera pans back. One operator swears he saw movement along a ledge 300 feet up, but when they review the video, the shape's gone. The footage shows a blur, humanoid, but impossible to define. Some call it a glitch. Others say it's dust or falling rock. No one wants to admit it could be something else. Dustin keeps working. He shrugs off the talk, keeps the focus on extraction, but exhaustion shows in his eyes. During a late-night inspection, he notices something strange. The excavator tracks have shifted position since the last use. No one had moved it. Probably the rain, someone says, but the ground is dry. Later that night, when he checks again, the tracks have shifted further, angled toward the cliff. He doesn't mention it after that. By now, seismic activity has increased. The constant drilling, splitting, and movement of machinery seem to be waking something beneath the rock. Geologists monitoring the ridge warn that vibrations could destabilize the slope entirely. The frequency patterns match precursors to a landslide event, massive enough to wipe out everything below. Dustin listens in silence as the data streams across the laptop. The room hums with tension. Finally, he shuts the screen. "We've come too far to stop now," he says, voice steady. Outside, the fog thickens again, wrapping the canyon in a ghostly haze. The lights from the camp blur into halos, barely cutting through the mist. Somewhere in the distance, the faint clatter of loose stones echoes down the gorge. The men turn their heads, scanning the darkness. Nothing moves, but the sound continues, slow, deliberate, almost like footsteps across gravel. The wind shifts, carrying the metallic scent of wet earth and gold dust. A low groan rises from deep within the canyon, rolling like thunder trapped underground. The mountain feels alive, restless, aware of what they've done. Dustin looks out over the floodlit valley, his jaw tight. The gold glows faintly in its crates, stacked like treasure beside the ruined camp. Everything they've uncovered glitters under the haze, beautiful and dangerous. Behind him, the sensors flash red again. Vibration warning, high risk of movement. The readings climb with each passing second, the ground trembling just enough to rattle the tools nearby. Somewhere deep below, another crack echoes through the earth, long and hollow, like a warning from the mountain itself. Floodlights slice through the Alaskan night as Dustin's crew works under crushing pressure. Every second counts before the next storm hits. The site, now a maze of cables, mud, and roaring generators, glows like a battlefield of gold and grit. Melt furnaces roar, spitting orange light across tarps as liquid gold pours into molds. Dustin's hands shake as he lifts a 50-pound bar, still glowing from heat, shimmering like molten sun. "Keep it moving," he yells through the noise. Crates line the pad, stacked like treasure chests from another age. Helicopters thunder overhead, downdraft whipping loose gravel as they lower cargo nets onto makeshift pallets. Crewmen strap down boxes labeled only with numbers, no names, security protocol for high-value shipments. Floodlights flare, revealing armed guards stationed along the canyon rim. The scene is pure chaos and precision fused together, every man focused, every move timed to the second. Dustin checks the manifest. 3,480 ounces verified, each smelted on site to prevent tampering. Still, he knows this is only the surface. The untouched pockets below could double that. For now, they take what they can, sealing crates under heavy canvas before airlifting them out. The sound of rotors drowns out all thought as the first load rises skyward, gold and mud raining down together in a final roar of triumph. By dawn, the canyon is empty except for the wreckage, twisted steel, torn hoses, and scorched gravel. The dig site looks like a war zone, the ground itself scarred by the violence of extraction. Yet the camp bursts with energy. The team, exhausted but euphoric, huddles around the last smelter to watch the final pour. Dustin's eyes reflect the firelight as he signs the final log entry. He turns to the crew and mutters, "It's not over." No one argues. The shot fades to an aerial sweep, sunlight glinting off the river like a thread of gold still running beneath the ice. The gorge stretches into endless wilderness, vast and untouched. Somewhere below, more gold lies waiting, sealed by time, danger, and legend. The story doesn't end. It just sinks deeper into the earth, waiting for the next person brave enough to dig it back up. Dustin Hurt pulled $103 million from the Devil's Cut, but the canyon still holds its secrets. And as long as gold remains buried in those frozen depths, the legend will continue to grow.